So does anybody have shoes on?
Stand it. Stand it.
I don't.
Stand it.
Way.
Keith's dressed like
Okay, we are live, Mayor. Call this
All right.
meeting to order.
All right. Thank you, folks, very much for attending this very special council meeting this evening, the first virtual Benton Town Council meeting. So welcome to all you folks, and certainly to the folks that are watching us through our live feed on Facebook. And with that, Susan, I'll ask you to call the roll, please.
All right. Roll call for council, please. Councilmember McCarty,
Here.
Councilmember Scheid,
Here.
Councilmember Stovall,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Here.
We do have a quorum of council. Also, town staff that are present: Barry Thompson, Susan Johnson, Pete Peters, Chastity Barber, Ann Cantrell, Donna Collins, Chief Tom Foster, Joey Heiner, Anita McMillan. Also present, Jeremy Carroll, our town attorney, and Debbie Adams with the Benton Messenger. I would like to confirm that our meeting is being held in accordance with our town ordinance number 1016, and that everyone present is participating by electronic means. Mayor, I turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Susan. As usual, we will have our moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Susan and Barry have come up with a real nice display of a flag you'll see in a few moments. Just so we know what's going on, I'll close out the moment of silence and then ask the Vice Mayor to do the pledge. So I don't know, can we stand up for that or not, guys? Probably not.
Sure.
Maybe we better remain seated. So we can start with the moment of silence, please. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for your protection and your blessing. And we pray that you will continue that for our country and our community, and certainly the council meeting here tonight. For it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Give me 1 second.
All right.
For some reason, I cannot get it up.
It was just there.
I know it. All right.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Did Bear?
It went away.
I don't know why it's doing that.
Well, Susan, we can just have the pledge if you'd like.
All right, I think I'll do this one more time. All right,
Okay.
how about that?
There you go.
Everyone, please face the flag. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America
America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we did get through that. Very good. Thank you, Susan, for that. As usual, we'll ask for any changes or anything that we need to postpone on the agenda. Are we okay, folks? If so, we'll move on to next item is usually upcoming events. Sabrina, I guess we'll have to wait a while on that, right?
I think so. But once we start, I'm sure we'll have plenty to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. There'll probably be a lot of build up energy and people want to do that. I know I'm ready, as you can tell. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. And tonight it contains the minutes of the regular council meeting for April 7th. I guess you could call that a regular meeting. I don't know. It's kind of unusual,
No.
but anyhow, that's the minutes. Are there any changes or additions?
Did we get minutes?
No, Mayor, they're not on this agenda.
Ah, it is on mine.
No. No, not on this one.
Wow, maybe I've got the one that was the preliminary agenda, which may be a problem. We'll see. So,
Okay.
yeah, sorry about that. So we will, according to mine, the next item is the awards. And obviously, we don't have any presentations tonight, but I would like to mention a couple of proclamations that we recently sent out. The first is the National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and that's for the month of April. And then the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and that's the week of April the 12th through the 18th. And then the National Drinking Water Week, and that's the week of May 3rd through the 9th. Is that what you folks had listed? I hope. All right. Okay, and I apologize. Like I said, I must have printed out the preliminary agenda. So next item, though, is the citizens' comments and petitions. I guess Julie was going to let us know if anyone had anything. Is that right?
Well, not for tonight.
Okay,
We didn't have any citizens other than Debbie that requested to speak
okay,
tonight.
great, great. All right, Jeremy, I don't see anything listed for the town attorney.
No, Mr. Mayor, but I would let you know, as you probably know, the General Assembly is reconvening tomorrow, so we may get some guidance on May elections and electronic
Yay.
meetings starting tomorrow. So
Yeah,
we'll keep you
Yeah.
abreast as those occur.
yes, we're very anxious to hear about that. Some of us more than others, right?
Some of us
understand.
more than others.
Yeah, oh, well, we'll see what happens. All right, so I guess we can move on to the town manager section. And Barry, you want to take it from there? Hello, Barry.
Did he go?
Where's Barry?
I don't know.
Well, he's on the screen.
I don't see him.
No, he's gone
I
now.
don't either.
He's gone now.
No, he's on the Facebook Live.
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
I don't see him on my screen.
I don't see him either.
Well, scroll to the left. Is he on there if you scroll to the left?
No.
It must have went off.
He's gone now.
There is a slight delay between the actual Zoom feed and the Facebook Live.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Don't.
it's got everybody. Well, Barry was on the Facebook Live, but it's not on there now.
No.
It must have went off.
Gone now.
There is a slight delay between the actual Zoom feed and the Facebook Live.
I mean, it's got everybody. Well, Barry was on the Facebook Live.
Chastity's gone now too.
Uh-oh, the technical glitch.
I don't know. Could be.
Sounds like it.
Is Barry in the office?
Yes. Ann's going to go and check his iPad might have just went down.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
There's Chastity. She's back.
Do we want to go ahead and Brad and let Pete introduce the item till Barry gets back up here, or whatever you want to do?
Yeah, if Pete's got that information, I think that, yeah, you're right. That's a good idea. Let's go ahead and proceed. And according to what I had, Anita was going to do a presentation concerning the Glade Creek Sanitary Sewer relocation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Mayor, that is correct. And I have not properly warmed up in the bullpen, so I apologize for that. But it is a presentation by Ms. McMillan regarding the construction, Glade Creek Greenway Phase 2A.
I'll be ready to do so. It's been finally, after the second rebid of the notice for bid construction, we received 3 bids for that phase A, and we sent authorization requesting bidder Salem District to authorize the award, and was sent to Richmond. And about a week and a half ago, we received that authorization after a month and a half. At the same time, for the record, I would like to thank Liz Belcher, the Greenway coordinator, and volunteers, Ms. Shai, Mr. LaRouche, Tom Bearden, and I believe Janet may have another gentleman's name. They were instrumental in helping the contractor to clear the trees within the corridor that need to be removed in order to meet the bad time of year restriction. They were able to get that done prior to April 15. I do have before you the bid tab for the 3 contractors that submitted the bid, and a resolution based on the review analysis by the town engineer, Mike Johnson, with Hurt and Profit and Salem District. The Com Land Solution, doing business as Summit Contracting, is the lowest responsive bid for the construction of Glade Creek Greenway Phase 2A. I'll be happy to answer any question that you need.
Okay, Anita, thank you very much. Council, you have any questions or comments?
No, sir.
All right.
I do not.
Well, in that case, Council, you do have before you a resolution that would award the contracts for Glade Creek sanitary sewer relocation project, as you heard Anita describe. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion by Councilmember Scheid, second by Vice Mayor Lyles. Susan, please call roll.
Okay, and Mayor, this is the one for the contract for the Glade Creek Greenway Phase 2A.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Scheid,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Resolution passes. Okay, is Barry back on the line, or Pete, do we have anything else?
He was back online momentarily, but I think he's gone again. The second item under town manager action is a resolution to appropriate funding for the emergency sewer repair. And Ms. McMillan will provide an update on that.
Mr. Mayor, council and the members, in the course of marking the trees to be taken down, staff saw that an exposed sewer line located along Glade Creek and the stream bank has been eroded due to a lot of rain that we have had. And having said that, due to the proximity of the sewer line and also the stream bank that has been eroded, the close proximity with the proposed Glade Creek Greenway, we, like Pete mentioned, emergency repair had to be done. Staff contacted 5 contractors, and with the assistance of Kenny and Joey with Public Works, we contacted 5 construction company, but we only received about 3 bids. The responsive bid for the sewer relocation line is SJ Corner & Son, and for the stream bank restoration is Com Land Solution, the same contractor that is going to be doing the Greenway project. I do have before you the resolution indicating the 2 contract that we would like to award for the for council to award and for the town manager to sign all the contractual agreement for the 2 projects, and also have photos of the section that need eroded. We have been working with Hurt and Profit engineer Roanoke County requiring erosion sediment control plan to be prepared by a professional engineer. And we also contacted the Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that we are meeting whatever need to be done. The reason that we felt, the reason that this emergency, the sewer line has to be relocated, we want to avoid having to work under the ordinary high water line. So everything has to be done above. If we are to be in the creek at all, then we have to file joint permit application, and that review process will take at least 6 to 9 months. And the job cannot be done prior to September because of the lock perch and the rainbow trout time of year restriction. The proposed plan has been shown to Donna Heston with the Army Corps of Engineers, and she has confirmed that we do not have to file the joint permit application because the work will be done above the ordinary high water.
Anita, we have something in writing from her about that?
We have an email from her.
Okay, good.
Yes, we do have an email, and then we have been, we contacted Roanoke County engineers, the floodplain engineer, Roanoke County engineer that will be reviewing the erosions from the get-go. So everything is in place. The erosion sediment plan has been submitted, and we will continue with the pre-construction meeting for the Greenway this Thursday. We hope by Thursday, we also, ready for the sewer line relocation and also for the string bank. So yes, Janet, we did have that confirmation since the county requiring that.
Right. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'll be happy to answer any question. And I, like I said, I have a lot of help with this issue. So it's, I know it's been a month, but we hopefully we can start the project really soon.
Hey, Anita,
Yes.
in the information, it's Matt Combs with Combs Land Solutions, but the invoice is from Summit Contracting, right?
Yes, he is Matt Combe with
Yeah,
Combe,
right.
and his Combe Land Solution is doing business as Summit Contracting.
Okay.
It's a DBA.
Correct,
Okay.
doing business as Summit Contracting. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, council? All right. If not, this resolution would be for funding for the emergency repairs, as you've heard Anita describe them. Is there a motion?
Yeah, so moved, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Council Member Stovall, a second by Council Member, who said that? I'm sorry.
Me, Sabrina.
Oh, Sabrina, okay. Council Member Sabrina McCarty. All right. Susan, if you'd call the roll, please.
Councilmember McCarty,
Yes.
Councilmember Scheid,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lyles,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Resolution passes. Thank you, council. All right, as far as any other updates or anything, Pete, I don't know if you got any information from Barry or if he's back online.
I'm back. I apologize. I couldn't get back in, so I got knocked off. But I do have a couple things.
Okay.
I appreciate y'all going on with the action items. So I do have one Facebook comment that I'd like to share. We had one very positive comment on our refuse crew. It was from a lady that posted on our Facebook. She said she was driving through Vinton, and this was on the 20th of April, and she saw the trash collection crew do something wonderful. She said one of the workers was taking a trash can around the back of a house, and she presumed that resident was unable to do so, and she wanted to commend the crew for a great act of community service. So I just wanted to pass that on to you. So the refuse crew does a great job. on taking care of our citizens. And so
Yes, they do.
recognize them. So, and then Chastity has posted on the farmers market website, and we've also posted on the town's website the rules according to the state about the update on the farmers market opening, which will the farmers market will be able to open on May 1st. And, the hours will be Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and it will be closed on Sunday and Monday. And there will be rules regarding COVID-19 and the use of the SNAP program. And so I just want to let you know that that was on the website and also on the farmers market page. So she's done a nice job in putting that information out. And then the PSAP grant, we have the 2 intersections, one at Hardy Road and Vineyard, and the other one is at Pollard and Gus Nix. Those are moving forward. You've probably seen some work up there by the McDonald's. So Nathan created a flyer that is posted on the website with the information about the program, the 2 projects which are administered by VDOT, and also with some bullet points on the construction timeline. The Hardy Road Vineyard one should be finished by late June, early July, but the one on Washington Avenue, Gus Nix, Pollard Street, will be finished in late November, December timeframe. But we want to let all of our citizens know that this information is out there, and it gives a timeline as far as the construction and the details on that. So
Barry, so that is what's going on up there at the McDonald's. It is that HISIP work.
yes, right now it's demo and concrete work on the corners right there.
So did VDOT do all the bidding on that? They took care of all of that?
They did, and
Okay.
they are administering the project for us. So, and then Joey wanted to let me know, wanted me to let you know that that public comment period for the TMDL action plan has been posted on the town's website. We normally post it on the bulletin board and and everything, but it has been posted on the website. And so in accordance with the municipal separate storm sewer system MS4 permit issued by the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, effective November the 1st, 2018 through October 31st, 2023, the town must update its existing TMDL action plan by May 1st, 2020. The town has 2 plans aimed at reducing the following pollutants of concern: the sediment, bacteria, E. coli. In addition to revising the plans, the town must allow at least 15 days for public to comment on them before they are submitted to DEQ. And these plans are posted on the town's website for public review and comment. Most of the proposed strategies in these activities that have been implemented over previous permitting cycles. Overall, the proposed strategies are believed to be the most cost-effective options for the town. So we're asking for public comment. And lastly, I want to comment on the census. Julie has been doing a great job in keeping the census information out on our social media sites. We're trying to get as much information out to the citizens. They will respond because it's very important. I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Very important to for the citizens to respond to the census, because that's can be funding for the town. We've had about a 53.5 percent response to the census as of this date, as compared to Roanoke's self-response rate of about 62.8, Roanoke counties, that is. That is, we're ahead of where we were in about 10 years ago with the census. So I think keeping that information out in front of the public is good. We'll continue to do that. So that's all I have. I want to turn it over to Pete. I think he has a little update on the stimulus that has been coming back into the town. So.
Hey, Barry, before you go, I know we talked about the Gusnicks and the Vineyard Road projects. Any update on the Hardy Road crosswalk there at W.E. Cundiff? We talked about those about the same time.
Yeah, I don't have an update on that. I don't know if Pete has any information on that or not. So, Pete, do you have any update as time frame on that? So.
Anita, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that funding isn't available till 21.
Correct.
So we're a year or so away.
Correct. And I have contacted VDOT a year and a half ago to ask if they would be willing to administer that grant. They have not gotten back to us yet, but I did email them every so often asking about the status. But like Pete said, the fund is not available until 2021.
Gotcha. Thanks for the update.
I just really quickly wanted to update you on a couple of emergency disaster fund. Most recently, the Virginia Workforce Board offered a layoff aversion grant, and there were over 100 applications for our region. In Roanoke County Economic Development, Jill Loop and Tom Rawley were successful in assisting 2 Vinton businesses to receive some of those funds. So out of 100 applications, Vinton got 2, which is actually pretty decent. And $8,300, PFG, Precision Fabrics Group, got funds to assist with maintaining their staff levels, and Magnets USA got $3,000. There are a number of other small businesses we've worked with for the emergency disaster funds, the P3 program. There's been a U.S. Chamber grant program come out. So we've been working closely with them. The challenge is they're all in various stages of applications, and we don't have a good mechanism quite yet to verify or validate at what point these businesses are in with their process of receiving funds. Spoke with the Small Business Development Center today. She is tracking that and is trying to put some sort of database together that we can promote publicly to show what businesses have been assisted through those various stimulus programs for the pandemic assistance. So that will be coming. It just isn't quite available yet. And also wanted to mention, I think I mentioned the last council meeting, but there was a postcard that we worked with the regional partnership, went out to all of the business licenses in the Roanoke Valley. And it just provides our contact information for each locality should they need assistance. So it provides us some examples of assistance we can help them with. And we have referred quite a few folks to the Small Business Development Center or to local banks in the area who are actually administering a lot of those P3 loans. So the process is not perfect, but it does seem to be working. And that some people have said we're kind of building the plane as we fly it. So considering all the circumstances, it's going fairly well.
Well, Pete, I just wanted to say that you guys have done a great job, I think, I guess in combination with the chamber, getting information out about the local businesses that are open and still serving food and doing deliveries and things like that. So I really appreciate that.
Yep. Julie in the planning zoning office, she's working from home. We tasked her with creating a database to try to promote the businesses and what hours they were operating, what services they were providing. And she's doing 2 to 3 businesses. She's featuring them each day on social media. So that seems to be going well. The chamber is doing something similar, of doing live broadcast through Facebook Live. The Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge is also doing a similar campaign. The tourism office is doing a campaign. So we're trying to participate in all those avenues that we can to get as much awareness of our businesses as possible. So considering the circumstances, it's going okay. I know that Ann's probably going to talk a little bit about the meals tax starting to come in this week. But at Barry's suggestion, we, for the last couple of weeks, have been polling all of our local restaurants to see what percentages of meals tax they're collecting, to get, at least a heads up, an idea of where we're going to come in with sales tax or meals tax receipts. So we've been in close contact with everyone. The spirits are fairly high. Most people remain optimistic that we'll get through this. It's probably calmed down a little bit since the initial shutdown. There was a lot of panic in the first couple of days, and I think it's kind of somewhat calmed down, and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we're trying to, there's a lot of resources, a lot of information out there. So we're trying to filter as much as we can of that, turn down the noise a little bit and get them what they need. So, but everyone's pitching in on all fronts. So it's surely a team effort.
Good. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
sounds great. Great. Okay. So is that it as far as the comments or updates, Pete?
That is all I have. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. So with that, I guess we can move on to our committee reports. And obviously tonight we have a very exciting report. Or at least interesting, I guess would be a better term. And that's the finance committee report. So, Ann, I guess it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. On Tuesday, the 14th, we held our first Zoom meeting via Facebook, and we went over the February financial report. We also went over the items that we're going to review in the work session here tonight. As part of our February report, it was kind of sad for us to review. We were in a very good position in February. If you took a look at our general fund revenues, we were anticipated to be under our revenues at 1.3 million. As of February, we were actually only under 834,000. So we were in a very good position. In the great grants fund, we were 199,000 waiting for reimbursement. So very active. In the utility fund, we were predicted to be revenues under expenditures 59,000, but revenues were actually over expenditures 364,000. The capital fund, we had 247,000 in that fund not spent. And then in the stormwater fund, we had 88,000 not spent when we budgeted to only have 11. So overall, we were supposed to have a deficit of 1.4 million for February, and we were only in the red, or a deficit of 333,000. So it was really great to see at that time. As far as cash goes, we had 2.2 million in total cash in February, and then we had 3.2 million in our investments. And so that's the only action item that we had from our February report. We needed that approved by council if we could get that motion and second.
I'll make the motion to approve the February financial report.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need roll call? Can we do voice on that?
Voice is fine.
Okay, I know it usually is, but I didn't. So all in favor of accepting the financial report as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. I didn't know if these unusual circumstances called for a different procedure there. Good enough. Thank you, Ann. All right, under the mayor section tonight, just a couple of brief things. Actually, one of them is a question. Barry, I guess the bus stop has been officially moved across the street there at Vineyard, and I was just wondering if there had been any, any reports of any problems there or anything.
We have not had any comments about the move at the bus stop or any negative comments or positive comments either. So I think that everything has gone well with that. So
great. That's good to hear. Because I know
Where's that? Is that by the McDonald's, Mayor?
Yes,
Yes.
therefore they're starting to do the work on the intersection. They moved the bus stop across the street there. I'm sorry, I didn't identify it there
Yep.
in your,
In-
near
in-
McDonald.
Yeah.
Now it picks back up instead of stopping.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, well, good. I'm glad that's working out well. Just briefly, I think your comments about the census was right on. That's something, in my opinion, we really need to keep out in front of our folks as much as possible, because that's really important. I think at least a lot of us have seen the ads on TV, as well as heard a couple of presentations this year. So that's a really important item. And I'm not surprised to hear that positive comment about the refuge crew. Those guys do a great job. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to thank all of staff. These are certainly unusual times, unprecedented in some ways. And, our staff has stepped up to bat, and that's no surprise at all. So I just want to thank everyone. And I too was very impressed by the list of restaurants on our webpage and everything. So it's good to see that, our town is responding and our staff is doing everything that we can to help our local businesses. That's really, really important. So I just hope everyone can stay safe and stay home if you possibly can. Been home 3 weeks now. Debbie hasn't said anything about divorce, but she did mumble something about murder. I've just chosen to disregard that. But other than that, I think things are going well. And with that, I will turn it over to council, and I'll start with you tonight, Mr. Vice Mayor, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I really don't have a lot other than the same, just to echo the everyone. Hopefully they stay safe. You said something about divorce, got married, and then went into quarantine. I'm still married, so we can make it through this. I think we can make it through anything. Also, supporting the local businesses. When I could go places, I didn't eat out as much as I am now. So I'm really, you can't spend any money anywhere else, so you might as well go out to eat and support our local businesses. So that's what we've been trying to do for lunch and dinner, and going broke pretty quick. So, and with that, that's again, everyone stay safe and hope to see everyone live soon.
Yes, I agree. All right, thank you, sir. Sabrina, anything further this evening?
Pretty much the same. Just thanks for everything that the staff continues to do. We have an awesome staff in all areas with the town of Vinton, and they continue to amaze me and continue to support our local businesses. And again, like you said, stay safe. And as I mentioned at the last town council, if you can, try to help others out. It's time for us to take care of each other. There's a lot of elderly that need help. And, I'd mentioned that the churches was a place to reach out to. They had some different things that they were doing, picking up prescriptions, going to the grocery store. So any way that you can help, and please stay in if you can, so we can all get out and see each other hopefully soon.
Yes, very well said. I certainly agree. Jenny, you have anything further this evening?
Just that I will echo what Keith said. We have been getting carry out more than we ever have before. We are not a couple that goes out to dinner very often, but we have been trying to support the local businesses. And I now also realize, with all that carry out, why some people have so much trash. Because those carry out containers just fill up your trash. So all those boxes and styrofoam and things like that, all of a sudden we're having to put our trash out a whole lot more.
So you really appreciate the new carts then, right?
We do appreciate the new carts, and we appreciate everything that the staff and the local businesses are doing. So everybody just stay safe.
Yeah, you bet. Mr. Mike, you got anything?
Yeah, man. First off, in the quarantine, I was with no sports, no golf, no racing. I'm sitting on the couch the other night, and I look over, and there's this sweet, pretty woman sitting beside me. I said, well, I've been sitting here for 2 days. There's no sports. Where you been? She said, I've been sitting here for 31 years. You just hadn't noticed. So I guess pay attention to the sports. But yeah. So I do want to thank staff. I did read something the other day back to the carry out and we're like y'all, but they say that in a 7-day span, if you have a restaurant or a couple of restaurants that you favor and that you love during this time, if you'll visit them twice, 2 times in a 7-day span, then it'll help them make up the difference. They won't make it all up, but it naturally will help them. And I actually asked a restaurant owner that the other day, a good friend of mine that owns, Mike Fortner owns Belsino's, and he kind of echoed that. So, and then I too, first off to Susan, let me say to Susan and of course all the staff of everything that they've done. Putting this together right here, this is not an easy task.
Wow.
Getting everybody in a meeting, and I know that, but us being able to carry on the town business. So, and then Councilman McCarty is spot on to the fact of it. There's a lot of people out there that need help. A lot of people out there suffering, and just the fact of being able to help people. And so, so we'll get through all this. I agree with you, Mayor. We'll keep praying, and we'll get through all this fine.
Yes, you bet. No, you're exactly right. We'll keep praying and we will get through this. And I think in a lot of ways we'll be better. We'll certainly, I think, appreciate what we have and appreciate each other a lot more after this. I appreciate all of you folks. Is there anything further to come before the council meeting this evening?
Yeah, one positive thing about all this, Mayor, is it's positive for all of us, but one person that's probably suffering is the positive thing is we still have the chief.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my goodness. All kinds of silver linings, aren't there?
Right. You gotta pull out the positives.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we understand, what the situation is, but Chief, is, as the Vice Mayor said, it's good to have you around, my friend. So glad you're here.
Well, he just
I'm
gets
honored.
the echo every time he cuts the TV on. And they talk about all the partisanship and the bickering in Washington, and they got getting anything done. He just tips his hat to them. Says, you're right, they're not getting anything done.
That's true. That's true. All right.
Thank
If
you
there's-
all.
You betcha. If there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
And a second,
A second.
all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So I guess we'll go straight into the work session now. Is that correct?
Susan, I think you're muted.
Uh-oh.
There you go. All right. So I can see the budget now, and Barry, is that what we're supposed to have?
I could see the budget in you.
Oh.
Well, you'll see. I think you'll see every time somebody
Okay.
speaks. I think they're
So
going to
I'm
come
gonna
up in your
move to a
screen.
different room because we're having really bad feedback in here. So give me one
Okay.
second.
Sure.
Just bear with us a minute while Ann relocates.
Absolutely, no problem.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Right, let me see if I can get this full screen. Okay, does everybody see a full screen PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Sorry about this, I'm just trying to get resituated. Okay, so one of the things that we discussed at our Finance Committee meeting last week was our fiscal year 20 and 21 budget. We know that due to COVID-19 that we're having some unforecasted shortfalls in revenue. We also know we may have some expenditures coming up. So we wanted to go ahead and brief you on what we're forecasting and what we think is happening as of today. So I know the big question probably is, what is forecasted to happen to our main revenue sources this year? And this is key on our minds in the finance department because 60 to 70% of our general fund budget is economy-driven revenue. So this is very critical to a town of our size. So our number one source of revenue is actually meals tax or prepared food tax. I've seen it both ways. And you can see here in this graph that we have budgeted out in blue. Our actual is in orange. And the net, our performance agreement with McAdoo's, is in green. And then if you look at the graph and you see the colors that are solid, those are numbers that are completed. If you see the number or the bars on the graph that actually have lines through it, that's the forecast from me and from our department. And so what we are looking at is a 43% loss of monthly revenue from March to June of 2020. And we came up with that basically by surveying our restaurants through Pete and the Chamber. And the average loss for a fast food restaurant was 15%. So it was a hit, but not as much as we expected. But our sit downs are experiencing an 80% decrease in revenue on average. And so if we took a look at our demographic, we're more heavily fast food than sit down. And that's how we landed at a 43% loss for the town of Vinton. Going into next year, there's a lot of uncertainty with the economy. Most of our economists are predicting a U-shape, which means that it's going to be a little bit slower recovery, probably won't see a full recovery until January of 2021 is what the economists are telling us. So into fiscal year 21, we're estimating a 14% reduction on the current trend that we were seeing before COVID. And we're seeing a budget reduction of 12.47%. And so we are taking a really big drop on our number one revenue source. And so you'll see that last bullet point on this slide. Meals tax is the largest single source of local revenue for the town's general fund.
So that second line, FYI 21. So I guess the what you're saying from the, actually you started the meals tax, but the 12.47 is a total amount of the budget that you see us having to reduce.
Yes, and actually we're lucky. We're not as low as some of our neighbors. I think Roanoke County was throwing out closer to a 20% reduction in their meals tax next year from budget. We've kind of seen it all over the place because we don't really know. We think that this is a worst case scenario for the town of Vinton. We sure hope so. But that's kind of our best guess right now based on what we're hearing from economists. Great question. Any other questions on meals tax? Okay. So sales tax, we share this with Roanoke County. So we actually have been working with Roanoke County on the estimates this year and next year. You will see the same graph as before. So the blue is our budget, then the orange is the actual, and the solid is data that's already happened. And then the others are forecast when it's kind of faded through. And so in fiscal year 20, you'll see that we're actually predicting to come in above budget, which is a great place to be right now in fiscal year 20. And you'll see in my note off to the side that we took a stark decline this year, not because that sales were down, but because we ended our gain sharing agreement with Roanoke County. Previously, we were getting 11.77% of Roanoke County sales tax. Now, under the new agreement, we went back to our state code that we have, and it's 8.64% of Roanoke County sales tax. So that's why there was such a steady drop in fiscal year 20. Going into fiscal year 21, we are estimating a 21% decrease in current trend, and we're using the same revenue number as Roanoke County on what they're forecasting total sales volume to be for the county. So for us, that's a budget reduction of 13.6%. because sales tax was outperforming our budget so well, we didn't have to take the full 21% cut in budget. Sales tax is our second largest single revenue source for the town of Vinton. So this is a really big revenue source for us. I promise at one point I am going to get to good news. communication, sales, and use tax. This is something that we were previously calling consumer utility tax, but the state calls it communication, sales, and use tax. So we did want to change that for you all. You probably have heard it from other localities. This is, what is it? It's a statewide 5% on telephone services, cable, and satellite radio. It includes the E911 fee on the cell phone for 75 cents per landline or cell phone. And this is something that has been going down before the COVID occurred. We're seeing more and more people shift to internet. So we're seeing people cut their cable bill and they're going to Netflix or Hulu. And the Internet Free Act through the federal government doesn't allow that to be taxed. And so when you're getting some of these bundles and you're getting some of these services cut, we're actually seeing a reduce in revenue. And this is statewide. I think our county, Roanoke County, is seeing the same trend that we are seeing. So in fiscal year 21, we're estimating 2% decrease in trend and a budget reduction of 4%. And this really isn't impacted too much by COVID. We think that this was naturally occurring before. The consumer utility tax is what we called it before, but communication, sales, and use tax is our third largest single revenue source for the town of Benton's general fund. So here's where we get to some good news. Business license tax, or BPOL, is what we charge our businesses, and they have to file each January. It's a tax on a portion of the gross receipts from business they generate within the town of Benton. Any business under $125,000 is only charged a $30 application fee. And this year we have great news. The orange line may be phased in, but that's actually what we've collected as of today. So we are $100,000 over our budget. And this is helping meet some of the shortfalls in those other categories I talked about, in meals tax and in sales tax, which is above. But in BPOL, we're actually filling the gap because we came in so far above budget. We are holding our budget steady for the next year because we have been told to expect significant reductions because of decreases in business activity. And so we're not going to see the impact of COVID and business license until these restaurants file their business license next January. So it's a 17% decrease over trend, but it's only a budget reduction of 0.5%. So we're pretty much just holding it steady. And business license is the fourth largest revenue source for the town of Benton. And so then we get to you can probably see a trend here. I'm going in order. Personal property tax and vehicle license fee. This is the fifth largest source of revenue for the town's general fund. You will see we are predicting a decrease in budget next year. If you see my note over to the side, we get our values from NADA. That's how the Commissioner of Revenue values your vehicle. And they are projecting a decrease in vehicle prices between 2 and 10% in 2020. We are also hearing that people are delaying the purchase of new vehicles. They're holding on to their older car longer, which is going to have a potential impact to reduce tax revenue on vehicles next year because the value is now lower. So fiscal year 20, we're estimating will be about 1 month behind our normal collection period, just to when people get out and start coming to pay. And so that's why we're forecasting just a small shortfall over budget next year. In fiscal year 21, we are estimating a 3% decrease over trend, or budget reduction of about 2%. And this kind of brings us in line with what the NADA values is telling us, is that the cars are going to go anywhere from 2 to 10%. And you saw there that this is the fifth largest source of revenue for the town. I kind of grouped them together because when we bill out personal property bill, we also include that vehicle license fee, or we call it a VLF. The next one we wanted to talk about was pari-mutuel tax, or off-track betting. And pari-mutuel tax is generated off a percentage of the total pool of wagers that a person is participating in at the Benton location. So this is a very unique tax because it doesn't mean it's generated just on the money bet here in Benton. It's generated off what we are participating in as a pool here in Benton. Thankfully this year we didn't know what to budget because it was our first year actually getting full revenue. So we did what we thought was the conservative budget 485. Thankfully, when this event took place, we'd already collected 462,000. So we're only $20,000 off from our budget. And we think if they can get open in June again, that we would easily meet our budget. So next year we're forecasting to stay at that 450 just in case another event happened or betting across the states is down. Not 100% sure. Before this event happened, they were forecasting to bring us $613,000 a year in the annual revenue. So this event actually cost us probably about $200,000 in what we would have gotten.
Is Pete still on here?
Yes, I am, and I wanted to interject real quickly. As Anita, or excuse me, as Ann said, we do get a share of all bets placed within the state of Virginia, and they're are working on 2 other locations. As you know, Dumfries and Danville received permissions to open facilities. So in theory, we could have as many as another 1,000 terminals come online sometime in this next fiscal year. So that could hopefully really increase our revenues as a whole.
And Pete, when do you anticipate the if everything was going like it was supposed to go, when do you anticipate the new machines going in at Rose's?
That's a tough question, Mike. I don't know a really good time frame. I don't think it would be until the new year at the earliest. I know, they had created a lot of building scenarios when they initially opened for remodeling the existing facility. They chose the smallest one. So I think they're going to have to, create what their building expansion is going to be, go through the permitting process. So I don't know that it will be as quickly to open the new space as what they opened the initial space, but I wouldn't anticipate that before the first of the year, based on the information I have.
Okay, got it.
So Pete, they don't have any room within that existing footprint to add new machines.
No, they are completely maxed out, and they don't have as much office space as they would like. So they're planning to expand the footprint, actually double in size. So they would go from roughly 15,000 to nearly 30,000 square feet. Expand their training room space, expanding their employee space. They would have a more kind of a higher threshold betting area, which is something they would really like to do. It's got greater margins on the return, and expand their concessions. So be a big footprint expansion, and the delay has been on finding suitable, location to make up for the parking. So they're going to gain more patrons in theory. They'll need more parking, and then because of the building expansion, they would lose some existing parking. So making some headway on that, but not really sure on the timeline as it stands right now on our expansion or the other 2 facilities coming online. But we anticipate sometime this fiscal year.
Could they not expand up instead of out?
If they did talk about that, and the initial designs, they thought they could do that. They don't want to go that route now because they have to close. So if they went up, they couldn't operate the building. Now they can keep the existing space open while they build.
But Pete, can they build their expansion as a 2-story rather than building up on the existing building?
No, I don't think so, can they?
Again, they don't want to build on the existing building, period, because they don't want to close down. They anticipate opening.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Can they build their expansion 2-story, or can they put a parking garage in?
They are looking at a parking deck option. So that is definitely in the plans, but I don't know which direction they'll go. They're doing some cost analysis on kind of the engineering and design of what that would entail. They did give me a preliminary idea that concrete and the steel is really expensive right now. So I don't know that will be the direction they go, but they're definitely looking at a parking garage option.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Pete.
Yes.
Thank you, Pete.
Well, and it's hard to believe that parimutuel tax, this is really the only full fiscal year of it, but it's already the 6th largest revenue source for the town's general fund, local revenue. So it climbed up pretty quickly. The next one is real estate tax. And so we're not expecting to see any big swings like we saw during the Great Recession in 2008, 2010. However, a small decrease is anticipated, is what we are hearing. And the current year increase was 3% for the town of Benton. We're not proposing to increase our future budget because we don't know how our delinquent collections will go. We anticipate having a little bit harder time collecting those than maybe we did before. We're estimating, just like personal property tax, to be about a month behind where our normal collection is. So you will see on that orange graph in fiscal year 20, we're estimating just barely be under where our budget is. And then in fiscal year 21, we're just keeping it flat going into the next year. And real estate tax is the 7th largest single source of local revenue in the town's general fund. And then we get to bank franchise tax. And so some of you may know what this is and some not. In Virginia, banks are required to pay a franchise tax on the net capital of the bank. And it's prorated to the localities based on local deposits. This does not apply to credit unions, it's strictly to banks. They also don't pay a business license or business personal property tax. This is how we get our tax revenue from our local banks. And so in fiscal year 20, it includes a $49,000 decrease. This is not due to COVID. This is due to a bank merger that happened where they hit the maximum threshold when that happened. And we also have an $18,000 refund due to a bank that amended their 2012, 13, 14, and 15 returns. And it's due by May 1st of 2020. So we were kind of surprised and thrown off by this one, but we are proposing to correct it next year. If you look at our graph, we always budget based on last year's filings that we've received. And so we're correcting that this year to $200,000. And so this is actually the 8th largest revenue source for the town of Benton. And then we get into cigarette tax. And so cigarette tax is something that cities and towns can impose in addition to the state. And we do. And so the local suppliers have to affix the local stamp and the state stamp to cigarettes that they sell. And so at the town treasurer's office, we purchase these stamps and we sell them to the wholesalers or the retailers, and they have to affix them to the cigarettes sold here in Benton. And so in fiscal year 20, we're estimating just a tiny loss due to the COVID event. We're not really sure, but we think maybe people aren't getting out or may not be out as much as they are buying cigarettes. Maybe some more awareness with health. But into next year, we are estimating a slight decrease from trend, and it's a 3% budget reduction. The other reason we're recommending that is we've had a consistent reduction in this line item if you look at the trend. And also vaping or the vapor is not taxed. It's considered separate, and when it went to the General Assembly, they said, no, this doesn't qualify for cigarette tax. And so as that becomes more popular and more people are switching to vapor, then we lose some of that revenue.
And you also said it was because of Rosie's being closed, that was probably a part of it too.
Yes, Rosie's came online. We actually saw cigarette tax revenue going up this year for the first time. It's never happened since I've been here. And since they're offline, that's another reason we're estimating the sales decreasing. Thank you, Ms. Jihad. Appreciate that. And so this is our revenue summary. If you take everything and you put it all together, we have a general fund budget of $8.3 million for our revenue. We have received or collected so far $5.1 million. We're projecting to collect in another $2.4 million, which would leave us at $7.6 million in revenue collections, which is a shortfall of $737,000. But if I go over to this next slide here, some of this is anticipated. So $250,000 was a Benton Motors incentive agreement that we agreed to use fund balance to pay for that. And then the other one is the purchase of the lots at Pollard Street and the demolition. We've spent or plan to spend $321,000 on that to acquire all the parcels. So the unexpected portion of the revenue is $166,272. And this number can change. It's different now than it was when I talked to the finance committee last week. So it's changed just within a week for the better. It was, I think, over 200,000 last week when we talked. So
Yeah, I think you had 200, almost 206,000 when we talked last Friday.
And we've gotten some more information in today. We got our state sales tax from Roanoke County in Friday. So we were able to update that sales tax number, and then meals tax, we got some of that in today. We were able to get that updated. So thankfully it helped. It was to the positive.
And Ann, I think you said last week that of that shortfall, 90% of it, approximately 90% was from the meals tax shortfall.
Yes, we can attribute almost the whole shortfall to our meals tax, especially being our #1 revenue source for the town's general fund. The shortfall of 166,000 is 2% of our total budget, if you want to look at it from that standpoint. Okay, so what options do we have to cover the revenue shortfall? And that's what we've been working on as staff. The town manager has taken several steps to try to fill the gap of that revenue loss. Department vacancies have been frozen through the end of the year. They can be reopened under dire circumstances. I know we have a few in public safety that are being considered because of that. Non-essential spending has been frozen through June 30th. Delay of travel and training expenses has been instituted. Capital projects and items not yet started or purchased have been delayed and pushed off. We've reduced our maintenance paving to minimum for the fiscal year. And then we have reallocated personnel where we can, where the shortages are due to COVID. If they don't have work, such as our kind of recreation staff or our war memorial staff, we've been able to utilize them in different departments where work has increased. And so we have worked with all of our departments to come up with where do we forecast you ending the year. And this is not a slight on anyone. I just want to say this is where we are today. We don't know where it's going to end up, but really appreciate the departments getting me this information. I'll point out some of the highs. Town council is in the whole 57,000, but that's due to additional money for the land purchase and demolition that we need to appropriate. So that's just an entry that we haven't done yet. If we go down to the police department, they actually are 127,000 to the good. So they're down 3 positions, and between different operational savings they were able to put off this year, they're actually to the good 127,000. Highway, streets, and bridges, because they greatly reduced some of their paving, they're in salary lapse for them as well. 141,000 to the good is what we were predicting. Snow removal, we had a mild winter, practically no overtime because there was no snow. So 18,000 to the good on snow removal. Traffic signs and street lights. Again, most of this is in salary lapse from vacant positions and contractual services for this line item specifically. We have 40,000 available in traffic, streets, and refuse collection, 23,000. Now, some of that is probably being used in recycling. That's in the whole 10,000, and that's just from a transfer of an employee who's making a little bit more money than what we budgeted. And if we go over to the War Memorial, we're forecasting savings of 31,000. I didn't mention earlier, but we do also have a shortfall in revenue because all of the events that were booked have been postponed. We were having the best year yet for the War Memorial, so it was really sad to see that. But the revenue shortfall was about $40,000. Their expenditure cuts are 31,000, so that was great.
Hey, Ann, excuse me. I think we're 1 slide behind for those folks that are watching.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The senior program had 12,000 available. Most of that is in programming salaries not being used because we're shut down right now. Planning and zoning had 14,000. Let me skip down the list. Retiree insurance is in the hole because previously we were coding that to each department, but we wanted you all to actually see what we were spending on retiree insurance. So we pulled it out of the departments this year and set it up after the budget was approved. That is, we had several. So this year we're forecasting to spend $8,200 on that, and that's why it's negative. In the future, we'll make sure that's funded appropriately.
And can you switch the slide again?
Which- Yeah, I was getting ready to say.
Got it.
Thank you.
And so if we get to the bottom for the general fund, we budgeted 8.1 million. We're forecasting to spend 7.7 million. And so that's actually under budget $410,000. So we've not only found the savings for the revenue shortfall, we're also making up some of the expense that we're eating into for our economic development incentives. So we're reducing how much we're dipping into our fund balance by department reduction in spending this year. And so if we go over to the next slide, you'll see what we're forecasting now is revenue of 7.6 million, expenditure of 7.7 million, and anticipated use of fund balance of 133,000. And so you can see the note at the bottom that fund balance usage should have been 737,000 if every expense was spent as budgeted. But we were able to greatly reduce that because of our department cuts and what they were able to accomplish with reduction in spending. And so then we get to talk a little bit about fund balance. I know that's probably everybody in government's favorite or not favorite term. Unassigned fund balance is like our rainy day fund. It's what we have a legal requirement because we have an adopted policy that says we keep a 60-day reserve. What this is supposed to do is if we ever have an event kind of like this, but more drastic, let's say we have a serious event, no money at all is coming in, how long could you still pay your bills and pay your employees? And so we've set that up as a 60-day reserve. And if we look at what our assigned fund balance was as of the audit last year, it was 2.9 million. We're projecting to dip into our fund balance right now, 133,000. So that would leave us an ending fund balance on June 30th of 2.7 million if everything occurs as it is today. Now our legal requirement based on our current budget is 1.3 million. Now on our forecasted revenue drop into next year, because we're forecasting about a 6% decrease in our revenues for 21, that would reduce our fund balance requirement because our spending is down. So then our fund balance requirement would be 1.1 million. But I wanted to chat with you a little bit because during the year, we collect a lot of our money in the spring, but we operate all fall and winter on money that we're collecting now in May and June. And so we use a lot of cash during that time period. And our worst month of the year, which this year was actually January, we used just under 1.3 million. It was 1,289,000. And so that's how much cash we needed to keep running, basically pay everybody that we needed to pay. And so in an ideal situation, we would want to have our 60-day reserve and we would want to have what we call working capital or cash that we could flow to make ends meet of 1.3 million. So we really want to stay in that spot of 2.4 to 2.7 million if possible. That's what we would call ideal. Now the legal requirement, we could drop down to 1.3 to 1.1 million, but at that point we would have issues paying bills. We would have to look at a line of credit or we would have to look at other ways to pay our bills during those slow months. And so another thing we wanted to bring you up to date on, the utility fund is not immune to what is going on, but we did have kind of two things happen at once. We had an 80% reduction in consumption on our third highest water customer. So that really hurt. And we didn't discover that until probably the spring, but they had made a change last summer and in the finance department billing office, we were not notified. And so when we made that rate increase in January, we really only broke even because of that decrease in revenue from that. We are working with Davenport and Company to review our rates because now we do not have the cash available for our debt covenants to complete projects that we had wanted to complete. We need to make sure that we have enough cash on hand to make a debt payment for meters and the well upgrade and those other projects. And so based on our April reading, we just got that information this morning. We are seeing decreased consumption in the schools and in our commercial accounts. And the schools is our number 5 water user for the town. So this is something we didn't really want to see. We're not seeing a large decrease or increase in residential accounts. That appears to be relatively flat. So our estimated revenue loss for this current fiscal year is $150,000. We saw about a $57,000 loss this billing. So we're hoping that improves in June, but that's what we're seeing as of today. And then we're not estimating any revenue loss for fiscal year 21. We assume that when everything gets back to normal, that revenue will continue and that fund is normal. The good news that we do have for you is that the expenditures that we're forecasting are estimating to be $236,000 under budget. So even though we're seeing a revenue loss of about 150, expenses are even lower. So we should still be in the black in that fund. We shouldn't be in the red. We're down several positions in public works, and the salary lapse is attributing to most of that number. Is there any questions on the water fund before I go on? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Was that a question? Okay, I think we're good. So I'm going to move on to this is something.
And excuse me, I did have. I was just curious quickly. I think you mentioned that Cardinal at one time was our largest purchaser of water, and schools was number 5. Do we have any really big customer? I was wondering, like 2 and 3. Is that PFG fit in there somewhere?
Yes, PFG is our number 1 water consumer in the town of Benton.
Oh, they're number 1. Okay.
Yes, by far.
Okay, and so Cardinal was number 2 then?
They were number 3.
Oh,
I think I'll have to go back and see. I know the Berkshire is on our list, and then several apartment complexes are on the list of high users.
okay. The reason I ask is as we talk with Davenport, I was just wondering if there was any of those customers we need to take a look at to try to anticipate something happening like we did with Cardinal.
Yeah, I think that we during our audit, we actually have the top 10 water users as a table in the back of our audit, and we've never really had to reference it before, but this is the first time we've had one of those reduce their consumption so drastically. Cardinal was using about 1 million gallons a month, and then now we're down to 200,000 a month. So that was a huge revenue loss for the town. I will say Rosie's is not on the list, but they may be next year. They are using a considerable amount of water.
Mayor, pardon me for the interruption, but I just wanted to add, Roanoke County does what we call business health and wellness checks. About biannually, typically twice a year. I participate in those occasionally, but what we have done since the Cardinal, becoming aware of that Cardinal, we have added that question to our health and wellness checks with the businesses. So when the county or the town meets with those businesses or large water users, that is one of the questions that we're going to be asking in the future. Are you planning any reductions or improvements in your water usage so that we can account for that in the future? Cardinal did that as a part of an expansion that they're undergoing, which is good news. And then the fact that they're reducing water consumption is actually a good business practice overall. But it just caught the town off guard, obviously, not knowing that they had planned that as a part of a new piece of equipment to recycle some of the water that they were currently using. But we hope to address that in the future and not get blindsided by that again.
Well, great. Thank you, Pete, for that information. That's exactly my concern, and that's where I was going. Is if there's any way we can anticipate stuff like that. It's like I say, you don't get blindsided.
Yep. And we went back and asked the other users in the top 5, and no one's planning any. I didn't want to give them the idea necessarily, but no one's planning any changes drastically to change our water consumption.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you.
Okay, So, and health insurance is another big topic for us for the next fiscal year. Local Choice, which is our health insurance carrier, experienced a 4.5% increase for next year. And so our original plan as we were developing our 21 budget was to increase the employee salaries to offset the increase in the premiums. We were going to pass the 4.5% to the employee. We were going to increase their salary to cover it. Due to revenue decreases, though, all salary adjustments have been removed from the fiscal year 21 budget. We also had another issue that came along with this. The town's health insurance costs increased even with passing the insurance premium to the employee because we're having more utilization of higher dependents. So we're having more of employee plus one or family plans, which the town contributes more to than an employee plan. And so the issue that we run up to is the town can only pick 2 plans. So we have a menu of options that we can offer through Local Choice, and we can only pick 2 because of our size. So the town had turned in an election for the 500 plan and the 1,000 plan as of April 1st, but we can make a change up until tomorrow, April 22nd. This was a change from our current plan because we had a $250 deductible and we went to a $500 deductible, but we kept our 1,000 plan in the election that the town turned in. And so this is what our employee premiums currently look like. So we have a $250 plan for the employee plus one, and family. And you can see there that the employee premiums range from $91 to $847. This is monthly. And then the employer premiums range from $630 to $1,100. And the total cost is over on the side. And if you look at one step below, this is our less premier plan. This is the $1,000 deductible plan. And the premium ranges from free for the employee all the way to $601 for a family. And the town contributes the same amount no matter which plan the employee elects. So they're picking up the difference on the 2 plans.
And if I can interrupt just a second, I think you told us the other day that in the town, about half the employees are in each of those plans.
I think that's a
So
very
half are in the 250 plan and half are in the 1,000 plan currently.
probably not exact, but that's a pretty quick way. It's about 50-50. And so one of the things that we were looking at is health insurance for fiscal year 21. So we had 3 plans that we were considering. The 250 plan, when we look at the premium, was just unaffordable. And so we were looking at the 500 plan, which is a $500 deductible, the 1,000 plan, which is a $1,000 deductible, and then the high deductible plan, which is a $2,800 deductible for the employee. And so if you look there at the employee premium, we're showing what we would propose the employee premium would be by keeping the employer premium flat. And so then we also have the total cost and the impact to the employee over to the side. So for an employee who's on the 250 plan and they're moving to the 500 plan and they're on employee only, their premium's going down $26 a month by making this change. And so that goes all the way down to family. If you're on the 250 family and we're moving you to the 500 plan for the family, then you're actually going to see $70 more a month in your paycheck because of the reduction in premium. And so the other 2 plans, we had turned in an election for the 1,000 plan because the deductible was lower, but this does have an adverse impact on our employee. If you look over to the side, it ranges anywhere from $32 to $86 a month more that these employees would be paying. The other option that we have for an election is a high deductible plan. So this is a higher deductible, and it ranges anywhere from, we could keep that free for the employee all the way to $7 a month. I did make a note down at the bottom because the employer premium, that's $630, $995, and $1,100 includes funding an HRA for the employee. If we offered this plan at the town of Vinton, we could still offer free insurance with $1,000 a year HRA, a $1,500 a year for employee plus one, or a $2,000 HRA for family, and not see any increase in our costs. We could do all of that within our current premium structure.
And I'm a little bit confused because I thought the other day we talked about just the 2 options for 2021. Are we talking about adding in that high deductible option, or have we already done that?
So we did not know the answer on the finance committee meeting last week, but Donna went back and checked with local choice and we can make a change up till tomorrow. So we now have 3 options that we can consider for employee health insurance.
Okay, but you said earlier that we could only offer 2 plans.
Yes, 2 plans, but we have 3 options on how we could structure the plans.
Okay.
So our first option is we could keep everything the same for the employer premium. That would cost us, so offer the same plans, the same employer premium, we would pass the cost on to the employee. We would still see as Town of Vinton an increase of $50,000 to $60,000 based on that higher dependent usage. Employee premiums would decrease in the 250 plan because they're being moved to the 500 plan by $26 to $70 per month. However, on the flip side, employee premiums on the 1,000 plan will go up $32 to $86 per month. So that's kind of our option number 1. And then we have option number 2. Option number 2 is we keep all of our current plans, but we hold our employee premiums flat. So we as the town absorb all of the increase in the health insurance. And so this does have a higher dollar tag along with it. The estimated budget impact is $90,000 to $110,000, and it could vary based on enrollment. So that's just our best guess. But if we have more people than we anticipate add dependents onto our plan, that increases our costs. So employee premiums will decrease for the change from the 250 to the 500 plan. And it actually will go down even more because we're paying more for health insurance. So $32 to $86 per month. And then there's no impact to employees on the 1,000 plan because the town would be covering the full cost of the insurance. And then our last option, health insurance, and option number 3, we could change our current plans and hold the employee and the employer premiums relatively flat. So the estimated budget impact on this is still $50,000 to $60,000 just based on more dependents being added to our plan. Employee premiums would decrease on both health insurance plans. That would be the 500 and the high deductible plan. Employer could add an HRA for the employees on the high deductible plan without increasing our total health insurance costs. And the only real downside to this is the higher deductible plan moves the deductible from $1,000 to $2,800 for an employee. So that can create a hardship for some employees during medical situations. So now they have $1,800 more in a deductible that they have to fund.
I would just like to add, I'm sharing with Susan, my computer died. So my concern, and ultimately it's your decision, but based on the people that we have that would move to the high deductible plan, if we got rid of the 1,000 plan, a high deductible plan is great if you don't go to the doctor that much, or if you are, constantly going and you have high healthcare costs. So my concern is we're going to lose based on who's in that group there. Just knowing the employees that are in that group, we're going to lose a majority of them, with them not being able to utilize the coverage because they have to hit. The other thing we have to look at is, with the other plans, we have copays. So you go to the doctor, you pay a $25 copay. With the high deductible plan, they don't have copays. You have 20% after you reach the deductible. So that's $2,800 out of pocket for just the employee and $5,600 out of pocket for employee plus one or family. So my concern is that we're going to lose people in that mix and it's not going to be an effective choice for them.
So Donna, you're saying that then those folks would go to the 500 plan.
No, I'm saying if they can't afford the 500 plan and they just took this plan, that their costs on the other side, on the front side, it's not going to be an impact on their paycheck. On the back side, it is going to be an impact on their pocketbook, so to speak, because they have.
So are we saying that in option 3, we would only, the high deductible plan would be one of the 2 plans we can offer, and the other plan would be the 500 plan.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Donna. I don't think that's a good option.
I just would like to say that I'm concerned at some point we might have to offer this this HRA, this high deductible plan.
A lot of places
because-
are.
Yes, but I would hope that we would be able to use this as a step down. I would think that as the health insurance continues to go up, that this would be our next approach. And we had talked about that. Like if we were to get another increase another year, that we would probably be forced to go to this. Our concern is that we have a group of employees that would probably migrate to this, and then they would, and I'll just follow up with what Donna says, they would be forced to, they wouldn't have the copays that they do now. And then if they were to have a health issue, if they go to the hospital and have to use the medical portion of this, then that's when you start seeing the garnishments come back. That's when you start seeing those type of issues. And I'm just real concerned that we'd have a group of employees that they would have the no premium, and that's what they would see from the paycheck to paycheck. But then they would have the high cost on the back end of it if they utilize any services. And so I'm just concerned about that. So
Yeah, I agree, Barry.
Yep. I do too.
So I guess that leaves us with option 1 or option 2. So which way do we proceed with that?
yeah, I think it's wise for us to move from the 250 to the 500 plan. I don't think that's any bad choice right there to move to a $500 deductible on that. And so the question, I think, Ann, can you move back to that slide right there? Is to keep the current plan and hold the employee's premium at a current level, or the option 1, which would to keep the current plan and hold the employer premiums at a current level. I think if the town is to pick up the premium, that's a choice that we are looking at, or as if we're going to pass that cost on to the employee. We were planning on passing the cost on to the employee, but we were also going to offset that with a pay increase. Now we can't afford the pay increase. So, we're looking at that, and at Finance Committee, there was some discussion. So we've got a list of things that we can show you after these slides that we can find it within our operating. We just need to have some direction as to which way y'all want to look at things.
All right, so in option 1, it's the impact is 50 to 60. We see that 500 plan, decreasing premium from 26 to 70 per month.
Increase.
That's roughly what an employee's paycheck would decrease for their health insurance costs per month.
Depending on what option they had for their insurance, whether it was single employee only or employee plus one or family.
That's right. So is the budget impact figured into option 1?
Yes. So
Yeah.
what we are forecasting is, if I go back to this premium slide here, the employer premium is staying at $630 in that scenario. And so the issue that we're having is not an issue. It's a good thing. We're growing. We're seeing more employee plus one and family in coverage. And so that has a much higher price tag. If you look at what we pay for an employee only at $630, if you look for the spouse, we pay up to $995 for you and your spouse, and the family, we pay $1,100. So the more we have dependence on our plan, the higher our costs are. And that's where we're seeing that increase is we're seeing a lot more of our employees electing to have spousal and family coverage or potential to have that.
And are any of the localities holding that employer premium steady between employee plus one and family and saying, you know, we're going to pay for the employee, but we're not going to pay for spouse or family. We're not going to pay any more.
Yes, Roanoke City is one that I know holds it flat. Roanoke County does not hold it flat.
No, I know.
I don't think Botetourt County holds it flat. I'm not sure about Bedford. We could take a look at other towns and see maybe what Rocky Mount or Town of Bedford is doing. But
yeah,
I do know that Roanoke City does that. They contribute.
Well, and I think a lot of private businesses do that. That, you know, they pay for the employee, or they contribute to the employee's costs, but not to the
making sure I don't
spouse
know.
or family.
Right.
We're in a different scenario too, probably than most localities, because we are fully insured. So we don't have a health insurance reserve or a rainy day fund or anything like that for health insurance. So Roanoke County or your bigger Roanoke City, they can dip into their health insurance reserve, hold premiums flat during something like this where we don't have that option. We're paying the full cost.
Yeah,
Well, I'm getting off track. That's a whole different subject.
Well, we talked
why would we, I'm sorry, Janet. I'm sorry.
We talked with the other, with Botetourt County, Salem, Roanoke County, and Roanoke City this week about what they were doing, because all of them received health insurance increases.
Roanoke County didn't, Barry.
Well, you didn't let me finish, Janet.
I'm sorry.
Except Roanoke County. And but the difference is that their renewal periods are going to be in January versus where ours is in July. And so what they're doing is they're moving toward hoping that the economy is going to move into a more positive direction, and they can do something for their employees in mid-year in order to offset that increase. And so and see, we're in a different situation. They're also self-funded or partially self-funded programs where, you know, like Ann said, where we're fully insured. And we're the only one with local choice where we've been for years. It's harder for us to have a blended program. We have to choose, like we can choose two programs and they tell us what we can offer. And so it's difficult when we do get an increase. So
I can see that.
All right, let me make.
Sorry. I was just
Let me
gonna
make
say,
sure.
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
One quick thing to note, we do have the $50,000 to $60,000 programmed into our budget. So
There you
that's
go.
what we have existing. And we are looking to fill a gap of about $225,000 in next year's budget. So that's cuts to current year things that we are doing of about $225,000.
So what's the additional cost for the town to take on that? If we've already got the 50 to 60 budgeted in there, is it another 50 or 60 that we're looking for?
Yes, it would be anywhere between 40 to 60. It could even be more depending on how many elect dependent coverage.
All right, so right now we've got the 50 to 60 in the budget.
Yes.
Okay. Go to the 500. Actually, they show us savings.
Can we go to that slide again?
Up to
right
right
to
there.
option one.
Option one, right there it is. It's at the top. No, go. Yeah, oh, this one. And we've identified that shortfall, that total shortfall, right? Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, you know, I get the other localities and I get, you know, all the different things and just an employee and no spouse or kids. But, you know, we just praised them when the mayor went through the council members, you know, 15, 20 minutes ago. We just praised them for the hard work. And, you know, insurance is a big thing. I mean, it really is. And if we've got it built into the budget, we've made the cuts and we feel like, you know, the finance committee feels like they can live with. You know, I don't know right now to get us through the coronavirus and through 1 year, I don't know why we wouldn't go with option one.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing with option one. It's
Yeah.
already built in.
The only downside to option one is going to be the employees on the 1,000 plan will see that reduction in their paychecks. So they'll have a $32 to $86 per month decrease in their paycheck.
But they're on the 1,000 plan because they choose to be there, right?
Yes, but there's no lower plan for them to drop to. That is our lowest plan.
Right.
And so, I mean, I guess my point would be that those employees, 50% of our employees are going to see an increase of, I think we said the other day, and anywhere between about $350 to $1,000 a year
Yes.
in healthcare costs.
On the 1,000 plan.
Right.
Yes.
Do we have that?
It's the 32 or the 86 times 12.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
and I guess all I'm saying is that, so we've just finished praising all of our employees and talking about what a good job they're doing. And half of our employees are going to be having to spend somewhere between $380 to $1,000 more a year in healthcare costs. And I don't think at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, Barry or Donna or Ann, I think they've already made their choice, right?
No, we haven't
No.
had open enrollment yet. Open enrollment
Okay.
is from the 1st through the 15th of May. The deadline tomorrow is for us to choose what two plans.
Okay, so employees still have the choice of going, if they're on the 1,000 plan now, going to the 250 plan.
No, they will, well, they
No.
will have the choice of going to the 500 plan.
500.
I'm sorry, the 500 plan. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's
Yeah, listen, yeah, well, with that answer, it's $648. Back to my math teacher that wanted me to do some adding over there. But no, I mean, if that's the case and we still have open enrollment and they can go back, I'd even furthers my case even more for option one.
Do you think that's what they will do, Donna? I mean, I guess I understand that they have the choice, but do you think, I mean, is the difference in the plan significant enough?
As far as the individuals that are on the 1,000 plan now going
Yeah,
to
would they,
500,
yeah,
no, they'll stay on the 1,000 because it's still going to be an increase for them if they go from the 1,000 to 500.
Yeah, if they, right now, like, let's say you're an employee on the 1,000 plan, here's the current premiums.
oh, that's
You're
right, yeah, okay.
0, 171 or 61. So if
Mhm.
you wanted to jump to the 500 plan, you'd go from $0 to $65 a
Right,
month.
yeah, okay, I got you. Okay. Well, I mean, I understand, you know, originally we had hoped to be able to give pay raises to cover these healthcare costs, increases to the employees, and that's just not going to work out. So I have to admit, I feel bad about that. But it's a difficult time we're in.
And give me.
With more companies moving towards the high deductible plans, you know, the cost of, I know that the cost of going to the doctor or co-pays and things are, what do we know, like what a percentage of our employees are frequenting the facilities more often?
No,
Is
that
that
information is
staff?
protected under HIPAA, so we don't have that. And because we're so small, they do not keep a, basically a claims count on us because we're under 100 people.
Gotcha.
So, we don't.
We've
know-
asked for that, Keith, we've asked for that information and they indicate that we're under 100 employees and they won't provide that information to us.
Okay.
So that's, honestly, I don't foresee I foresee people that are on the 250 plan transitioning to the 500 plan with no problem. And the people that are on the 1,000 plan are going to stay on the 1,000 plan. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They're not going to go to the 500 plan based on that. I guess, and I know we haven't gotten to that slide yet, but I think we identified like $400,000 in cuts that we could possibly make. And I don't know, I'm not saying that we would never go to the high deductible plan. I just don't feel like with the situation that we're in with COVID-19 and the kind of pivot that we're having to make in our plan, that this would be the year to do it. I
So
think
you're,
a lot less, we don't have time to discuss it. We don't have time to answer questions. We can't meet in groups. So I see us losing a lot of people in the transition.
so Madam HR Director, you are proposing option 1?
I'm proposing option 2, where the town picks up the difference, not the employee.
Go back to option 2 for me.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Of that $90,000 to $110,000 variance, and is that with the $50,000 or $60,000 already built in?
That is with 50 to 60 built into our current budget. So we
So
would
we're
need to
looking
cut an additional 40 to 60.
Okay,
And this would keep the employees whole.
correct.
I mean, and some of them would be seeing a decrease
Yes,
in premiums, so they'd be better than whole.
yeah,
Well,
But the 1,000 plan people would be whole, in other words.
yes,
the 500 people are going to see a decrease regardless of whether we do 1 or 2.
correct.
Yes.
But if we go with 2, then there's going to be no impact to the 1,000 plan.
Right, we're going to cover that cost for
We're
them.
going to cover that cost.
Yeah, which is what we had intended to do originally, Mike.
Yeah,
With the pay increase.
with the pay increase, right?
Right, which we can't do. So
So,
Okay.
Ann,
I'm more comfortable with option 2.
Yeah, I kind of lean toward option 2. Do I understand correctly? The additional budget impact would be about 40,000?
We would probably need to do 40 to 60. The only thing that I don't know is we are changing our premiums, and so that grows the difference a little bit between the employee plus one and the family. And so if we do, say, have a large percentage of people add spouses or family coverage because of what's going on right now, our costs could balloon. We do not know.
Yeah.
the full
Yeah.
extent.
so I know
Could
with our
balloon.
insurance at the bank, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, our insurance at the bank, we have to state on there that if I'm carrying somebody on my plan, my spouse, I have to state that he cannot get insurance with his business.
yes,
Is that that is in this as well?
yes.
So that it would cut that down? I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I think there's a delay, so I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes, under local choice guidelines, our insurance has to be the primary. So they can't pick up, if they pick up anything that's a supplement, it's one thing, but they cannot pick up another primary insurance if they're covered under us.
But
Right. But
but they-
what I'm saying is that, not doubling up on insurance. I'm saying that if he has insurance and he chooses to go with me, then you have to pay, I don't know, a certain amount.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't have my figures with me, but that would just be if he had the option to get it somewhere and he opted to ride on my insurance, there's a fee.
That's something, I mean, usually we have that go the other way because we
Uh-huh.
give a stipend if you get your insurance through another source, whether it be the VA, a spouse, a parent, for the younger generation that we have that are working.
Right.
So, I mean, I think there's nothing in there that says we can't do that. We just haven't had the discussion on implementing that.
I was just thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just thinking if we're concerned about other people coming on or their family expanding or whatever, if maybe that would help us be able to maybe monitor it. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's an important thing that we're going to have to look at. Based on who's on the plan now, I can only, from the conversations I've had with the employees on that plan, I think maybe we'd have 3 or 4 tops move from an employee only to a family plan or to an employee plus one plan. So that is definitely something that we can look at implementing. We could also look at implementing that, you know, and it coincides with this, we're not legally obligated under local choice to pay the full amount. Like, we have to pay at least 80% for the employee. You do not have to pay that much for the dependent.
Okay.
So we
Well,
could do that as well.
That's just a suggestion from what I've experienced with my insurance. But, you know, bottom line is I've always and will continue to say, I want to take care of, you know, our employees the best that we can. So
Yeah.
that's
Amen.
just a suggestion,
Yeah.
a suggestion.
I think, Sabrina, I think you would make a good point. I think eventually local governments are going to have to look at that. And we're also going to have to look at what Donna's talking about, where, you know, we don't pay anymore we have a set amount, we pay the 80% for the employee, and anybody else that comes on, whether it's a spouse or a partner or a dependent, is not an additional cost to the local government. I think we're going to have to look at this.
That's what's generating the issue that we have right now, is that we had pretty much like very high percentage of employee only plans, and going into the next budget year, we're seeing a lot of our new employees are electing coverage for a spouse or a child.
Right, because our coverage is better than what they can get someplace else.
And that's the number.
The reason for that is everyone's going to the high deductible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if your
Yeah,
I
spouse
know
is
of-
a private business, they're better off coming on to the town's plan than being on their own.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that concerns me, well, let me ask first off, which I think I know the answer to. We can revisit this again in a year. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a year
Right.
on a
So
yearly.
the only reason, and I get y'all, I get you 100%. I mean, naturally, you know, with the employees, I understand the no impact to the employees' premiums on option 2. The 2 things that I look at is number 1, to use a word that the finance director used, and that was it could balloon between 90 and 110. It could balloon past that if they join with family. And secondly, the current impact that we have, if we do option 1, the current impact that we have on the budget compared to the impact of option 2. That's the only thing I'm looking at. Now, if we were like we were before the coronavirus, I'm option 2 all the way. And to go with that. But I'm just looking at the budget impact, because like Keith just said, and I don't know the answer to this, and we probably can't get it, but you know, how many of our employees, spouse, or as you know, Janet was just describing, you know, as far as kids or anybody like that, have lost their job and need to come on our insurance plan.
Yeah.
And if we go to option 2 and they jump on there, then that's going to balloon.
You're right, that could be a problem.
That's a good point. That's a incredibly good point.
We just don't know. We wouldn't know until May 1 when we do open enrollment.
Right.
To
And
be honest with you, if its impact is going to be as a result of them losing their job through COVID-19, circumstances. We're probably not going to know that until after, I would say, July or August, when people start to lose their jobs.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I talked to 4 people today, and they've lost their jobs. I mean, 4 different people that I know called me and asked me about just different questions about different things, and two of them been laid off and 2 of them been furloughed. And Korean started laying people off today. So
A lot of them are being furloughed and laid off as well, though, that they're at least for a little bit got contingency plans in place to pay their benefits through a certain
Right.
period. So I still think that if we get on the other side of this COVID-19 and start to come back a little bit, that's when we're going to see the impact of whether the changes in the premium.
well, let me ask you this. And if we go with option 1 and get on the other side, use her statement, get on the other side of COVID-19, and it turns and we start flourishing again, can we go back and reimburse the employee on the
I
on
say
the
yes.
on
My
the 1,000?
recommendation would be to increase salaries at that point, and so we could increase their salaries to reimburse them. Also gets us back with what we originally had hoped to increase their salary to cover the insurance.
See, that would be an option that council could look at is if at the end of the first quarter or at the end of the at the end of December, if things get to moving again, you might be able to offer a salary increase to offset that if you did option 1.
You could also do a bonus. You
Yeah.
can also do a bonus.
That way we could do
Yeah.
something mid-year.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, my big thing. Yeah, right.
Could also
Yeah, I
split
mean,
the
but
cost between the employer and the employee.
Let me mention one other thing too that I've heard of this tried, and of course it was private industry. I don't know, but I think from what I'm hearing, a lot of folks are going to the high deductible plans, obviously because of the cost and stuff and kind of rolling the dice. I know one situation where they've encouraged their employees to do that. And then in fact, they have a quote scholarship program that if certain employees get in trouble down the road, that you might be able to help them out towards the deductible. Of course, if they're in a really difficult situation, there's going to be more bills than that, no matter what. So I don't know if that's something that as a government, if we can manage that. I know it'd be an HR nightmare, who gets the scholarship and who doesn't, that type of thing.
Thank you.
But I'm just saying that insurance is getting so expensive that I think that whether we like it or not, I think we're going to see more high deductible plans around.
And I agree with you. And I think that next year it's very possible that's the direction we go. But I think it's that we're remiss if we jump to that now, only because of the circumstances that we're in, to communicate that. And
Right.
I don't think it's fair to communicate, to pull that trigger and jump to that when we haven't had the discussion, and they're going to be blindsided by it.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's what I'm saying.
Well,
If I can, we all said here, like we said at the very beginning, and praised our employees. And Donna has said that, option 2 is when we all look at everything, option 2 looks best. However, it puts an impact on the town. We rely on these employees all year. They go through hard times with us. Sometimes they're not able to get pay raises. We're talking about maybe being able to do that mid-year, which would put that in December like we normally do. That falls around the holidays. They would want to use that increase for a premium. They want to use that increase for their families around the holidays. I think we're all going to come out of this. And the town's going to be fine once we get going and things open back up, and we're going to continue down that and pick that momentum back where we were. I think that the town can figure this out over the next 6 months with the budget increase, even if it increases or it's an impact to the budget. I think we should charge ourselves with that instead of putting this back on the employees that we count on every day. You know, $50,000 to $60,000 if we have to come up with that, if it balloons even more. We are always charged with changing things around. The finance committee does a great job. You guys already have options on the table of things that we can do. I think we look after the employees this go around and we go with option 2. Just my opinion. We bear the brunt of this. They bear the brunt of it for us and the town all the time. We'll figure it out going down the road, but to put it back on the employees and then also to increase their premiums and then knowing that we're not going to be able to give them an increase, it's not going to feel good. Even if we say, look, down midway in mid-year, we're going to give you an increase. That's not a feel good whatsoever. That's really kind of a slap in the face, in my opinion. Like I said, for my opinion, I think that the town we'll figure it out going down the road. 6 months from now, we'll figure it out. But I think we should do the best thing for the employees here.
I tell you, Keith, I'm in favor of that too. You know, I think I'm correct that we were talking the other day that some of our employees could actually have $1,000 a year impact on this, you know, and it really distresses me to think that, you know, that kind of impact is going to be visited upon our employees. And I'm not saying we're filthy rich, but we do have a fund balance.
Yes.
And I think it's a rainy day fund, and folks, it's raining out there. But Keith, I'm in agreement. I think this is one time that we need to step up to bat. And I mean, I know it's tough to take money out of the fund balance, but I believe this is one time we should do it myself.
I do too. And I think, like I said, the train was rolling before this happened. And I think we're going to pick right back up where we left off. And we will continue to go down the tracks and we'll pick up some cargo going down the tracks maybe. But we'll get through it. And the old saying, the more the merrier, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor.
I mean, that's my opinion. So I think
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Since we do need a decision on this, I don't know if you want to do it, you know, get a motion or get a consensus so we can have it in the record for our staff.
Yeah, I guess we could do a consensus, but we really can't take a vote since we're in work session.
Right. But we can do a consensus.
We want to finish the rest of the presentation and then make that, Susan?
And then come back to that, Ann.
Yeah.
Let's just not overlook it then. That'd be great.
Okay.
But I think, can we agree that we're not going to go with the high deductible tomorrow? I mean, that's a decision that has to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's too much too quick, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's way too, I agree with Donna. There's just not enough time to communicate.
Right, but I do think it's something that as we talk about this throughout the year, that, you know, I hate to say it, but I think that that's going to be the future of insurance. So it's something we may need to look at and see what we can work on.
I agree.
I agree.
Thanks.
All right, so I do need to change this slightly. Well, depending. Fiscal year 21 revenue, we are looking at a significant reduction. So you saw this year, we're estimating to end the year at $7.6 million. Next year, our revenue forecast is $7.1 million. So this is a reduction of $459,000 from our current year budget, or 6%. After we've reduced all of our operation requests from the department. Any increase that they had, we took it out. Anything in the capital fund that we had, we took it out. The only thing we left in the capital fund was Mountain View Road and a very small portion of the Greenway Phase 2B. And when we removed all of those things, we're still looking for 225. If we increase our health insurance, we're looking for 265 to 285 is what we need to find. We had a few things that really hit us hard this year. VRS increased their rate on us just under 1%. And so unfortunately, we have to have the impact of that next year. We had the health insurance increase that we're having to make a decision on. We did remove the pay study and salary adjustments. The capital improvement program, we had to reduce it to only grant match requirements. We took everything else out. And then staff has been researching and evaluating budget reduction options. So that's where we get to this last slide. What we have identified is up to $472,000 in costs, but some of these are not fun discussions. The first one impacts 3 departments. It impacts the finance department, the police department, and the public works department. We were going to shift a meter reader from finance to billing in the finance department. We are freezing that position in this option. We're freezing a police officer position, and we're freezing a streets EO1, which is an equipment operator 1 or labor position. And with all those 3 combined, it would save us about $101,000 for the freezing of those 3 positions. If we moved refuse if we removed bulk from weekly to bi-weekly, and we utilized that employee on the off week to pick up recycling, we could freeze another additional position in recycling, and that would save us about $44,000 doing that. Another thing that we could do is remove curbside pickup completely, and we could offer a drop site that was maintained by a contractor, and we think that would save us about $60,000 because then we could eliminate a lot of the employee time associated with that. And then the last one on recycling, we could eliminate the recycling program that the town offers altogether, and we could either offer it up for a citizen could contract that option at their cost, or we could offer that they could drop off recycling at RVRA. And if we did that, the savings would be about $88,590.
So these are either or options, right, Ann?
Yes. For
Okay.
those public works ones, it's kind of stages, stage 1,
Okay.
stage 2, stage 3
Okay.
on recycling. Administration, we had talked about with Barry leaving, we could freeze the assistant or the town manager, whichever one, it's about the same cost savings. And it would save about $16,431 a year if we froze that position until July 1st. Planning and zoning, we could defer the town's match for Greenway Phase 2B until next year and say we're not going to fund anything towards it next year. And that could be a reduction of $25,000. In we're saying public works, but for our Mountain View Road grant, we could reduce it another $25,000. And we are hoping this year we will have enough set aside for our $350,000 match, even with the shortfall. But if not, we may have to do a true up. So if that happens and we have $350,000, we would need $150,000 to meet our minimum of $500,000 match. And we would have to keep our project at $1 million, or we would have to find another way to fund it if it went over. Economic development had a few things that they could freeze. They currently have funding for the EDA. They said that they have funded them in the past, and there's some money sitting over there for incentives, so they could forego that $5,000 payment. We could also freeze, we have a CDBG match program that's been used for economic development projects of $5,000 that could be frozen. So then the next thing we're looking at impacts all of the departments. So travel and training across the departments is about $50,000. And so another thing that we could look at is reducing travel and training across all of our departments for 1 year. Special events, we're working to identify the costs associated with specific events, but for a lot of our big parades, we're thinking that those events, we spend about $10,000. So for July 4th and some of those other events, it may be a little bit more, a little bit less, but about $10,000 an event. The Fall Festival is probably the least. That's only about $2,000 to $3,000 that we spend on that. Human Resources has gone through and identified several things that she could offer as reductions. We have special training and employee events that we could push off to a later time. Thank you. And then senior center and special events, $10,000 of savings there. we could consolidate our programs to maybe a single day a week instead of every day, and that would consolidate the staff's hours and save us some money so it's not spread out across the week. In Public Works, I have here that we could remove up to $100,000 in paving maintenance. The only cautionary thing I need to tell you is that we get 1.2 million in highway maintenance funding from the state. And so in that funding, we are required to spend all of it on highway maintenance. We have to report that to VDOT. So if we cut the funding too heavily in that area and we don't spend enough on highway maintenance, we have to tell the state how much we didn't spend, and then we have to spend it in a future year. So we get kind of nervous when we're talking about cutting paving too far back. In Town Museum, we could cut $3,000 if we say we are no longer going to fund the part-time position and we want it to be staffed by volunteers. We did net that in case we got an unemployment claim from the employee. With the War Memorial, we could start doing the town mowing by Public Works instead of contractor. We've had some discussions. It may not look as good, but that is an option that we could do to save $15,000. And then building and grounds, we could save about $10,000. Public Works would mulch over the areas and spray for weeds. We wouldn't do hanging baskets, but that would save about $10,000. And so if you add up the different scenarios, it's about $472,000 in costs we've identified. And I think that was all. We the main thing we wanted to know from you all on this slide here is there anything on this that is off the table? Is there something that you're saying absolutely not willing to consider? That will help us plan a little bit more appropriately.
And if I might just add one quick thing, with the exception of some of the scenarios for recycling, our intention would be that these are temporary situations, that as the economy improved, our revenues got back to normal or hopefully on the growth path again, that we could add these things back. So outside of the recycling, most of these would be a temporary measure.
I appreciate you saying that, Pete, because as far as what we'd like to see, I don't like any of this, to be honest with you. But I did have a question about the War Memorial mowing. I guess we're assuming that we have the equipment for that that's in satisfactory condition, that we could do that all summer.
It would be a challenge for Public Works, certainly, to take on that additional task. There's also a timing issue when we have events. If we have weekday events, we have weekend weddings, you know, the timing, and you add in some weather, it can be difficult to get the grounds mowed. We don't have equivalent mowing equipment that a general or a private contractor would, like a striping kit, the wide deck mower. So it would look different. The 15,000 is our fertilization program. It's the mowing and it's the snow removal. So that is a contractor that a single provider provides. So it sounds like a lot of money, but there's a lot of work over 12 months that goes into that. So you know, there's a cost savings there, but there's an additional cost that then is diverted back to Public Works to pick up the difference. Prior to the renovation, this is, as I understand it, is how the town did the work. We mowed it ourselves. We did most of that work ourselves. But when we did the renovation, we went to a contract, and this is where we are currently for that service.
Hey, Pete, can that contract be canceled?
We have some clause in there. We can pause it. We have to give 30 days notice to cancel, or we could temporarily pause it.
Okay.
You know, but much like, you know, the landscaping, that hanging baskets, it's not ideal for us to have to mow the War Memorial. But again, this we hope would be a temporary measure. We'd use it as long as we could, and then or needed to, and then we could add that in at a later time.
Yeah, but Pete, real quick on the War Memorial, that's $15,000 a year, correct?
Yeah, that's for the entire year. That's a 12-month contract. So if we did it for a full year, that's about the savings we would realize. But again, that's fertilization. So that's no weed control. That's no fertilization. That's no snow removal. That's us picking up everything.
I mean, it sounds like a pretty good, yes, it's a lot of money, but it's a big yard too. And it's a lot of pavement. So therefore we take over snow removal, we take over everything for a year. What does that look like with the impact of the Public Works taking it over? I think with maintenance on equipment, just we're not going to fertilize. What it's going to take to get it to look back like it was once we do get a contractor to go back. I think in the long run, we're going to pay a lot more than $15,000 to take it over. Just my opinion.
Well, I do think the 15,000 is a really good deal that, that we're getting it done. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Public Works could do it for that.
Well, and Public Works is already down, what, 4 or 5 positions?
Right.
Yeah.
And then again, the equipment that we have, not saying that we don't have great equipment, but what happens if something breaks down? Then we're going to have to buy something new. And I don't think that's our that's our sacred ground that we always talk about. And I think that's something that for that little bit amount of money, it ain't going to make that much of a difference anyway. Leave it alone. Again, my opinion.
I think you've made a good point there, Vice Mayor. I can go along with that.
Definitely, that helps us on planning and trying to fill the gap, because right now we're looking at about a, depending on health insurance, I mean, probably closer to a 280 gap right now that we have to fill. And so, unfortunately, your high dollar items are going to be the positions, because that's where most of your cost savings is, to the salary and the benefits.
Would council like for our budget group and leadership team to go back and take these items, less the mowing, and try to come back with a balanced budget at that point and present it back to council?
Yeah, I think that'd be the next step, don't you guys?
Or present it back to Finance Committee.
Yeah, finance, and then also with just with the recycle program, the third option of eliminating that altogether. And I know it's temporary, but that's also confusing to our citizens. We stop something and then we start something. I think again, just me, biweekly. We do recycling biweekly. Why not do the bulk pickup biweekly? I know bulk pickup is a lot more than recycling, but that's something that even going forward we could even continue to do to save us money through from here on out. Bulk pickup. I think with the cans, we're actually getting a lot of people are getting away from our bulk pickup. I'm not one to speak. Joy would be more than welcome to join in here with that. But I don't see a lot of bulk pickup around my neighborhood as much as I used to. Maybe every week was bulk pickup, and it looked like bulk pickup because nobody was using trash cans. I don't know, but now with the cans, it just seems like I don't see a whole lot of bulk pickup, and I don't know what the impact of biweekly would matter.
For what it's worth, biweekly works pretty well in Roanoke County. So
yeah, we've been talking about biweekly bulk and the biweekly recycling program. That was one of the things we were going to propose. We wanted to give it a little distancing from rolling out the carts, but I think this might be a good time to look at introducing that, since we need to do some cost cutting and some efficiency there. And so that's what I think that we would want to propose not eliminating the program, but going with biweekly recycling and biweekly bulk. And so that's the direction I think that staff would want to look at. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I don't want to eliminate anything from our citizens. And then my last comment and the last thing on this item is administration, the freeze the position till July 1. I mean, Pete hadn't been working hard enough as it is. I think we need to work him about $16,000 more anyway. Just kidding, Pete.
Good thing we're working long distance, right?
I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna remain quiet.
All right, so the only thing it sounds like we have left to do is make a decision on health insurance options, and then we may want to refer this back to the finance committee.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we need to decide if there's a consensus to go with either option 1 or option 2, right?
Yes.
So
I'm in favor of option 2.
I'm in favor of option 2.
Yes, option 2 here.
Yep, I agree. So does that help? You got a direction there, I think, right?
Thank you.
Did we hear from Stovall?
I'm in favor. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
in favor.
sorry. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of the employees.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the direction on the health insurance, and thank you on behalf of the employees. They will appreciate that, and staff appreciates that too. So,
Let me ask you real quick on the second line of where it says public works, that reduced 1 employee position. Now that they'll go back into public works. Is that right?
No, that position would be eliminated.
So of this sheet right here, make sure I got my numbers right. How many employees are we eliminating off of this page 30?
We could eliminate up to, so on the first line, three positions. On the second line, 1. And then on the second and third line of public works, on that 60 to 88, it would be 2. So it could be up to 5 positions total.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Would we be eliminating or would we be just not replacing as far as, I mean,
They are currently
talking about
vacant.
physical, yeah, but they're currently vacant. We're just not going to fill these positions
Yes.
correctly. No one's losing their job.
Right, we would move them. So if you said we're not doing recycling and we have people in recycling, we would move them to another vacant position.
Yeah,
They'd be
that was
mowing-
my-
they'd be mowing to warm them
That
more.
was my question. All right. Got it.
Okay, where do we go from here?
Anybody have any
If
other
the bar was
questions?
open, I'd go there.
yeah. Does anyone have any other questions? I think we have direction now. So if council doesn't have any other questions, I think we're prepared to go and try to balance the budget now. So.
Okay, and folks, if I could just make one real quick comment about something we had discussed earlier, and I know it's late, so I won't take a long time, but if I understood Ann correctly, our B-pole tax really helped us. I mean, that's important to Vinton and to, I think, small towns in general in Virginia. As you folks know, on occasionally there's a run at B-pole tax by certain politicians. And I just wanted to point out how important that tax is to Vinton, particularly this year. And when we hear rumors of stuff like eliminating B-pole tax, I think it should really get our attention. So I just wanted to mention that briefly tonight. Thank you for that time.
I think that's a good
Anything
point,
else?
Mayor.
Pardon me?
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Anything else, folks? Nope. I guess if there's nothing else, we are out of here. I'm going to enjoy the walk down the hallway tonight. You guys be careful driving home. And I'm sorry you didn't appreciate the text, man.
Hey, Mayor, if you would do us a little Fred Astaire down the hall.